We have an amazing panel today, and hopefully you enjoyed, I was here throughout the morning, you enjoyed the presentations and the very, very insightful panel discussions and far charts. So today we have one goal for this panel, okay, which is elevate safety in the built environment. And what I would like from our panelists, very expert panelists, is to share as many tips as possible on how we might elevate, our, safety in the construction. So, and what I would like to propose for all of you is we have a bit of a competition, okay? So let's see how many tips you can get from our panelists today. And as we, at the end of the session, when we get you to ask questions and everything, if everyone wants to, try to list all the very, very insightful, tips that they learned, we're actually going to give badges, and assess if you are a beginner, health and safety expert, you are, an expert, or you're actually going to get a guru, okay? So let's see if we can make this session a bit more interactive. We also have a bit of a tough session just after lunch, so I want to make sure everyone is, awake. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. Then one by one, all our panelists can just introduce themselves, as I'll definitely do a better job than myself. And then we're going to kick off with the panel discussion. I am the new face in town. I recently relocated only 3 months ago to Dubai. I'm a management consultant. I run a business with offices in London, Melbourne, Australia, and yes, now here in Dubai. I actually specialize on digital twins. And yes, health and safety is one of the very, very important use cases for the implementation of digital twins. So I would like to start, obviously, we have one question for today, is how do we elevate, safety in our built environment? I would like to start from Ross. If you would like to introduce yourself, and then just give you your initial tips on how we go about, elevating safety in health and safety, but also very important, of course, being a digital construction, summit is how do we do that? With the implementation of technology.
Thanks, Christina. So I'm Ross Hopwood, work for ISG Middle East, and I head up the HSQE department for ISG. A little bit about ISG, we're a global construction and fit-out specialist working across the globe. How would we elevate health and safety in the built environment? I think the health and safety environment within the Middle East it's very new. I think the culture is it's in its infancy stage. Technology isn't widely available for health and safety within the region, and I think the lack of technology for health and safety definitely it hinders us from progressing and improving a health and safety culture across the industry. I also cover the quality management system side with ISG, and we have all of these quality management system tools at our disposal, and they bring immense value to the business and a real good return on investment. But what do we have in the health and safety world that can also support our operations on site?
Philip.
Hi, Philip Rawlinson, head of HSSEQ for Emerald. We're predominantly based in Dubai. We have sites in Abu Dhabi as well. I've been in the region now for 12 months. I've come straight from the UK, and I can see the challenges already in terms of health and safety. But for me, I think that the essential part that we play as safety professionals is integrating the culture, the collaboration, allowing ourselves to talk to absolutely as many people as we possibly can, to have that collaboration, have that discussion. And I think as practitioners, we have to learn to listen. And I think it's a really key skill for anybody, any leader, that we listen. And once we start learning those lessons in listening, then we can get some really great ideas, some great initiatives come to the party.
Hi, I'm Matt Lloyd. I work for Omnium International. We're an independent cost consultant with project management services and dispute resolution also. I've been with Omnium about 6 years now. I'm a project lead on a newly appointed project in Dubai. We're mainly operating within Dubai, but we have offices in Cyprus, England, Saudi as well. I'll be trying to put a bit of a spin on it so that I can look at it from a cost consultant's point of view. I'm not going to try and pretend to be a tech-savvy individual up here to speak about pioneering tech, but it'd be good to put a different spin on things, and I'm looking forward to taking part.
Thanks. Lucinda Jensen. I am a project lead working for JLL. I come from the UK, where I've got 10 years main contractor experience. So I'm coming from a sort of site-focused point of view, and how now working in a consultancy, you can really drive health and safety from the client side and the consultant side down to site.
Imad.
Imad Itani, I'm the head of innovation at ALEC. Been in the region for 18 years, with ALEC for 16 years. I've been leading innovation for the last 7 to 8 years. And the way, I mean, we were talking about innovation versus health and safety, there's no difference. For us, improving operations means improving health and safety at the same time. They all need to go hand in hand. And as we become more efficient in operations, health and safety need to go up as well to avoid stopping the project. So I think there's no difference between the two, and they should not contradict each other. They both need to improve together.
Afternoon, everyone. My name's Ian Tabor. I've got a bit of a cold, so you might hear me a bit stuffed up, so I apologise. I work for Equinix. Equinix are the digital leaders. We provide data services, co-location. We're visible in 35 countries, 50 metros. I work for their construction, design, and procurement business. We currently do about $3 billion worth of construction a year. We've got anywhere between 170 to 200 projects end-to-end in flight at any one time, between inception through to handover. We fund, construct, and operate our own assets. So it's extremely important, the health and safety kind of management and process that we implement through design, construction, and then over to our operations team. I think for me, the key component is board buy-in. Ross will have heard me say this before, but if you can get the board on side, it means that you can get the finance backing to make sure that the environment that you create as a client and as a developer, especially in this region, really kind of changes the market. I know Lucinda was at Expo 2020. The original inception kind of plan for that was to kind of, really upgrade worker welfare standards. And I think they actually went some way to achieving that. So I think, representing the client organisation here today, I hope to give you some kind of context and broader understanding of the investment that we make in people as well as our assets.
Amazing. So we have an amazing expert panel, to definitely give you a lot of tips on how we improve the health and safety. Let's start from you, Ross. So how, obviously, we talked about, we already start hearing about, there is not enough technology on site, there is a lack of collaboration. We definitely have a lot of blockers that is preventing us from implementing technology on site. And we can have, a big debate, and hopefully, on how do we balance, How do we balance the costs? How do we balance the, health and safety risks, but also preventing the people from, the negative aspects? How do we improve, we help the workforce to, implement technology on site? What are your tips?
I think though I'm a health and safety professional, I like to believe that I'm also an enabler of progress as well. In terms of the inavailability of technology in the Middle East, there is technology available here. However, it's it's very difficult to get the leaders buy-in for a lot of the technology. They don't see how it can actually add value to their operations. One of the things that I always try and do whenever introducing something new that impacts health and safety is look at the commercial value that it also adds, looking at how operationally efficient this process or this technology could be. We recently did, and not related to technology, but work at height is one of the biggest risks on our projects. And you'll find that a lot of operations are done on aluminium scaffolds, podiums, ladders. We want to be seen as the industry leaders over here, so we took our biggest risk and we wanted to say, what can we do to improve it? What resources are available in the region here? And there's these things called PICOs and ECOs. While they're a work at height equipment tool, we did a case study this year to try and measure the efficiency level between an aluminium tower and a PICO or an ECO. And we really delved really deep into the efficiency levels, what was the man hours that we were saving, how many manpower were we deploying to site, and then looking at the programming, the differences to deploying a project with traditional aluminium towers and then PICOs and ECOs. Again, though this isn't technology related, if we did things like that for technology, it could be around reporting, it could be around training, anything, it could be related to AI. If we measured the commercial benefit that we get from it, and health and safety is an added value, we'd get the buy-in a lot more from the leaders in our businesses and organizations.
So the tip I get from you is we need to get better at writing business cases.
Definitely, and looking at everything. It's not just a health and safety benefit where it can, prevent harm. It's also looking at, okay, how much money could we actually save from this solution? How can we build quicker but also maintain health and safety? How can we bring technology in that enables progress but also works hand in hand with health and safety?
From my experience, I completely, agree with you. With a well-thought business case definitely helps with setting up the right strategy. Matt, I want to, pick up your brain from the cost perspective, and because there is obviously the cost is always the challenge, right?
Yeah, so I spent some time trying to piece the three things together, which was cost, time, and health and safety, and they do go hand in hand to an extent. I had to look at it from a different perspective because health and safety and technology is not something that I look at every single day other than my calculator and Excel. But other than that, I mean, I've tried to look at it from if you can install and implement a robust health and safety protocol or procedure, and if that includes pioneering technology, if available within the region, how would that benefit one cost and one program? I mean, if there's an accident and an injury, which sometimes they're inevitable, there are hazardous sites within the UAE and globally. Some of these things are avoidable, but some of them are not on some occasions. If there's an accident, if there's a near miss, if there's an injury, generally there would have to be a pausing of works, reports taken out, and that causes a delay. At the end of a project, there could be delayed damages as a result. That could be avoidable, but unforeseen at the start of a project, medical expenses that would have to go to workers. And that's an unwelcome overhead to any project from a cost perspective. If you can include good training in health and safety and buy-in collectively, like we've spoken about already, and involve in new technology in the built environment, I think you'd probably get buy-in from the workforce. I think that a collective buy-in and a sense of responsibility for using this new tech within the industry would give them a sense of responsibility and pride within their work. And that leads on to other things like reputation within the region. If you can train your workforce better, if they are more reactive or can identify hazards on sites by utilising VR or other things, then your reputation within the region would improve. Which could lead to being invited to tender more often, repeat work, reappointments on projects. So they're the commercial implications that I'm thinking about, and it'd be interesting to know about some of the actual tech that could be introduced in the region if available.
Yeah, amazing.
I think it would be also interesting how with the workforce that we work with over here, how can we tailor technology to suit that those specific educational levels?
Exactly.
100%.
It's all very well for us to understand the technology and to
understand
work with it.
exactly the local skill set. So your tip is definitely, and you want to share with everyone, is you really need to be able to train your workforce on the value and the benefits of implementing the technology. But at the same time, be aware of the skill set level that you are and speak to their language.
Exactly. And then I think that if you implemented this, you rolled it out, you got the buy-in, you would probably retain a lot more workers and have an experienced and skilled workforce who would be able to identify, hopefully, risks and accidents before they actually happen. But that's all hypothetical.
I think the key thing is to remember that health and safety is about people.
Yeah.
Technology isn't the panacea. Technology will help us. Technology will take us to a different place, but it has its limitations. And we have to accept that. That's the nature of the world. But what technology will allow us to do is allow us to better monitor and measure things. And quite often, and I've said this for many, many years, is that without data, without information, it's just an opinion. It's just somebody's viewpoint. And so you can represent it from a data perspective. You've got the information. These are our key risks. This is what we need to do. And this is what we're good at. And we can leave that for now, and we can just move on. But without data...
So your tip here is data.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to hear now from you, but I was waiting for you, because I really want to know now from, Alec, what you do at Alec, and how actually you're trying to balance, all of these, key elements.
I think everything that the guy said is 100% right. You need to look at the total cost of ownership, which is not just, I'm not looking at it only from health and safety perspective. Does it actually make the whole project more efficient? If it does, and then we look at our health and safety data, which is the most important, what were we facing before and how much is it affecting our workforce, then look for opportunities, whether it's a technology or not. Sometimes you don't need even a technology. Then you look for the bigger problems and try to solve them. Look for challenges or the solutions for the challenges you face. Not just picking technologies and trying to adopt them and force them into a job. And to the surprise, labor never were the problem. They will never say no to use certain things, whether it's a wearable or any tool that we give to them, as long as we explain it properly. So I think working at heights has always been a problem. And if you just say, I want to replace a scaffold by a scissor lift, immediately the cost consultant will say, no, it doesn't make sense. But if you take the whole cost of ownership from the beginning to the end and show that the teams are becoming more efficient, now you're safer, now you're more efficient, everyone will accept it. So you really need to measure what you're doing, look at the data that you're working on, and engage with the teams. Our industry is about people. Technology is just serving what we are. The good thing is technology is available now. I don't agree that technology is not available. Plenty of technologies are out there, but we should pick and choose what makes sense to us and to our region.
So your tip is look at your strategy, look at the end goal that you want to achieve, look at the entire life cycle, and trying to not just to see it as a holistic approach rather than just a quick,
tackle the bigger problems that you have. As he said, just focus on where are we doing, what are we doing. We have lots of data. I think the previous panel were talking about reading data and understanding data, which is our biggest challenge. Many people actually cannot understand what they're looking at. If you know what you want to work on, you identify your problem, you can find as plenty as technologies to solve it for you. And non-technology too.
Okay. Ian?
It's difficult to follow that. I'm just sitting here thinking really about how I would contextualize it. We're working a lot now at the design phase, and it's designing out risk really early. And if we can do that, then we stand a much better chance of being repeatable. I'm going to use another cliche that I've used previously about the aviation industry. Like, it's the safest form of transport. We all use it. We all trust it. What they've done over the last kind of 70 to 80 years is constantly evolve their model of learning from preventative kind of failure and also failure through their black box. So, as a data center operator, we effectively build the same product, over and over again, different footprint, different challenge. But the challenge comes with the supply chain in the region. And we sit here in Dubai, it's a relatively mature market now. You know, you look west and you've got Saudi and the kind of huge boom that we've got going on there. The supply chain isn't as mature, but the expectation is higher in Saudi because of the reputational element of what they're doing. You know, the eyes of the world are on them now. And negatively, because of some decisions that may have been taken previously, they are now really focusing on worker welfare. So my kind of tip is enough time in the design phase to make sure that you've got everything boxed off. There is AI solutions that we're looking at the moment at Equinix, where we can put a design in at the start and we can get clash detection, planning, all sorts of health and safety benefits from that we can use, access equipment in the construction phase that our operations team can also use for maintenance, you know, within their phase that they're dealing with. So I would say time, risk versus cost, and then repeatability of your design model.
Amazing.
And he mentioned the aviation industry, and the aviation industry, history shows us that they learn best from their events. They really go into so much detail post-event if an accident has happened or a plane has unfortunately crashed. The industry learns, and the standards are set there. The construction industry doesn't learn post-events, I feel. And that's me kind of working on the ground, engaging with our supply chain and our teams. We don't share information enough, and we don't learn from the events that happen, like the aviation industry does.
And just one last point on, you know, you've had flight simulators for years. You know, like the way we learn to drive cars is we get in a car and we have somebody teach us while we're on the road. To me, that's, as a safety professional, it's kind of crazy to do that, especially in Dubai. My wife's learning to drive here at the moment, and she's told me all sorts of wonderful stories. But, you know, if we took that kind of maybe mindset of a simulator environment rather than a VR headset, I'm not going to jump into another question later on, but the VR headset's very personal to that individual. If you had a simulator environment where you could have multiple people going through that same experience at the same time, that's another good opportunity for us.
Which is, to be honest, the perfect lead way to finally give some time to, Lucinda. And I really want to understand, from you, I really want to understand from the practical perspective, all of this, amazing technology that we do have available in terms of, wearables, VR, and I know you've been doing a lot of work on this. Mm-hmm. So can you just share, obviously, your tips and also your insights on the practicality of implementation?
Sure, of course. Look, there's so much of the digital technology around, and I think some people can get blinded by it because there's so much information. But coming from a really tangible, what can we actually do on site perspective, we actually used VR technology on site in Battersea Power Station, where we simulated an install of steel install. So it was a very complex project. We had existing steel, existing structure, and then we had new steel. Now the install team, they looked at the VR headset and they thought, that's not for me. This is a marketing tool. This is for consultants. That's the normal response that you get from people on site. But after some coaching and dragging them to site, they actually put the headset on and they were able to do a trial run of how to install this particular piece of steel that was quite complex. And afterwards, they thought, we can see the benefit. We can see why this is a good tool. It's not going to work in every application, and it's not for every single item on site. But for those really tricky items that people need to see from a different perspective, it does really work. And there was great feedback on that as well. And I think it's the same for the wearable technologies. You've got these glasses and you've got monitors on your heart rate and on your brain activity for picking up micro-sleeping when people are driving heavy plant and machinery, or for when they're working on site, outdoors, with the temperature monitors. To be honest, there was some pushback from the workforce on wearing all of this, monitoring. They don't want to be tracked by employers. But one of the really positive things that I think a lot of companies are adapting is the wearable technology in terms of the heart rate and for the temperature. And I know an actual example from on site, a couple of guys went to work in the morning, they felt fine, they had an alert to say that their heart rate was very high, and they actually went to the site nurse referred them immediately to the hospital, and they were in A&E, and they were fine because they had those checks just from having wearables on site. And that really sent a message to the whole workforce, particularly on that large project, that look, this is not a tracking device. This is for you to improve your safety. And yeah, so I think it's just about, the tip for me would be make sure that you're driving digital wearables or wear that you do on site, that they can see a result in, and they can see that quickly as well.
I think there's two interesting points there. We trialled VR training using the headset. We had a look at it, and we got the guys in. We did a demo, and it just didn't work for us in the FM market. And the supplier, many suppliers told us that it's not really designed for the FM market. It's more designed for construction. But yeah, that's okay.
It's fine.
That's not a problem. We've at least had a look at it. But what we have done, we've used VR technology at Emerald to use it as almost a control center. So you can put the headset on, the supervisor can put a headset on, he's got full access to a complete virtual control center at that particular moment in time. So yes, it didn't work in one application, but it works somewhere else. And on the point regarding the lone working devices, I've tried lone working devices for many years, and it's the engagement. If you get the right people talking at the right time, having a joined up conversation about what it's for, then you're going to get the buy-in. Because initially, it feels almost big brothery.
Yeah,
very much like a kind of a this is us, and we're watching you type of environment. And the more that you create that kind of environment, the more pushback you're going to get for any other new initiatives, whether it's technological or whether it's cultural.
And it's that persistence as well, because you're right, some things may not work, but you need to be able to say, look, this doesn't work, fine, let's move on, and let's try something else.
Move on.
I mean, exactly what the guys are saying. So let's say, even myself, you try to push something new to me, I will always say no as a start.
You did earlier with me.
Yeah, we're all, as humans, we always start with a no. And what we learned with our labor force, because again, remember the type of country we operate in, where we're senior managers from certain cultures, where the labor force is from different cultures. You actually need to get the labor force, their supervisors, to talk to them.
Yes.
And then translate it in a way that they understand. And there is no issues. I mean, we've built something, a labor app for our guys, and we had lots of our people saying, labor, how they will use a labor app? They don't have phones. Actually, they all have phones. They cannot use it, they cannot mingle with it. I mean, all of them are actually utilizing, and they're asking for more. But this is where we really need to be open-minded and understand that also we're in a digital age where even labor, they're already using these on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You just need to give them what is relevant to them.
To them, exactly.
And if we benefit from a technology, they need to benefit too. So we were using some of the different wearables, we were doing some testing, and eventually when the company benefits, they need to benefit too, or else it will not work. So we really need to open our minds how some of those things need to happen. If we need to implement, the whole ecosystem need to be involved.
I think there's a common misconception as well, So, we operate in a ton of countries, and the emerging markets are always the one that really surprised me, like the tier 2, India, Southeast Asia. You don't get the pushback there from the workforce. Yeah. They're hungry for that type of technology, whereas you go to London, more mature markets, don't need that, been doing it this way for 30 years. So I think that there's another, opportunity for this market, because you've got the migrant workforce that comes in, and they come from, the majority come from the Southern Asian countries. You give them this type of technology, they embrace it. So I think there's a huge opportunity here to kind of show the world how it really can happen.
Yes, and also, they can also skill themselves, upskill themselves and get even better jobs, So I want to start opening up the discussion to our audience. Hopefully you listed all the tips. Yes, we can give you some badges. So who would like to start and maybe ask some questions? Are there any questions from the audience?
Any questions, please?
Anyone raising?
Yeah, I'm Mursaleen, and it was very fruitful discussion, and we really learned a lot. But there is one concern I'm feeling. This safety is about protecting accidents to happen. An accident is something which happened. This is something which we have not envisioned, we have not imagined, we have not thought of. That is accident. Others are the events, whatever is happening. It is about improving events. What about protecting and avoiding accidents, which we have not thought of that it will happen, like anything. So if we are digitizing all this ecosystem, what is the roadmap of avoiding that accident scenario? In say 2 years, 3 years, there will be enough data to comprehend the expectancy of such accidents or something?
Can I go
Yes,
there?
yeah.
Very good question. But I think he answered some of it earlier. It's all about communication. So we have records across the company for 20 years. And obviously we have much better records over the last few years where data is starting to come more.
Yeah.
And the more we share from one project to the other, we have a safety committee where all the safety managers from all the projects, they meet every couple of weeks and they share all the knowledge across between them. And as long as you start to share some of the learning, you will avoid the near misses. This is actually the biggest problem. When something happens, you cannot avoid, but you can avoid your near misses and you plan for future. That's what we need to focus on. Things will still happen, but what we need to do is to prevent things that were in our control from happening. And the more we talk, the more we share. We have all sorts of systems we share. We have innovation directories, safety directories, lessons learned, all these things circulating around. We will not prevent everything, but we improve from where we are. And then slowly we become better.
And and also brings to the fact that we can only do the prevention if we have the data in the first place. And certainly none of us is going to go through those paper records and those. But when it comes to digital, not only we can start analyzing and assess, and start understanding how do we prevent that, but also think about now these days. We let AI, right?
I think it's
start
about
analyzing and
I think it's maybe adopting and being able to identify hazards, risks before they happen, and you're actually adopting a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach. A reactive approach generally is too late. The incident's happened. So being able to communicate and teach individuals to identify potential risks before they happen, it will hopefully prevent and breed a more proactive approach.
I think we also have to be mature enough to accept that accidents will happen. Regardless of what you do, what processes you put in place, what technology you've got in place, accidents will always occur. That's the reality. What we have to be smarter with is having a better reporting culture. So we have to find out what's going wrong. We have to understand what's going wrong. And the thing that's going to bring the business to its knees already exists. It's already out there. You've just got to be better at finding it and getting people to report it. That's what we need to be better at. And technology can help with that. We can have reporting platforms that bring all that information together. But the data's got to be cleansed. It's got to be clean enough for you to be able to spot it, as you quite rightly say. You've got to be able to identify that and go, do I think we've got a problem here? We've got a potential incident that may occur here. And we have to be adult enough to have those conversations with ourselves.
But sorry, you wanted to say something.
Go on, then. I'll never get it.
Please.
I'm going to be controversial here. Most incidents or accidents or whatever you want to call them, events, this is controversial. 9 times out of 10 it will be human failure. 100%. You'll always do an incident investigation and you'll try and prove that it isn't just human failure. I think we've got to look towards technology and go right to the very beginning of the process, because we all have processes and systems set up, we all have reporting procedures set up, I don't think any of those, the systems, the procedures and everything doesn't really involve the direct workforce. They will nod their head to say, yeah, I understand it, but how can we show them more, and how can we use technology to show them more the true methodology on how to deliver something safely? So obviously starting off with a method statement. How can we create things like method statements to be more visual, a step-by-step process, whether it's done through VR or AR? You cannot pass this next step in this training or briefing or anything related to a method statement on how to deliver this activity safely. How can we transform that into something more visual for the workforce that tailors their needs, their educational
I've been working
levels?
on. I completely agree. I've been working, and also I wanted to pick up your brain, because as I said, I just moved to the region, so I don't know. But here certainly we have a lot of different languages. So there is one of these. I help a lot of the startups to break into the construction markets, and one of them completely replaced all the tick boxes and all the lists with videos. Because they just say there was the feedback from the customer, they just have too many workflows with too many different languages, and the videos, they seem to be better at communicating what steps they need to take rather than just having the list.
And also, in addition to what you're saying, it needs to be targeted. Yeah. Even us, we're all getting dumped lots of information to all of us. And rather than just sending all safety information to everyone every single day, just target some information to what activity they're doing on that particular day. We do lots of these things, but now with the ability of labor apps or stuff like this, you are able to target an activity or a group or specific people who are at risk, rather than just dumping everything and you need to know. That's the past. People used to tell you, you need to know this, I give you the whole thing, it's your problem.
And that's why safety is a lot more than just preventing accidents.
Yes.
It's about informing, making sure people have got the right information and knowledge, training and knowledge building to help.
100%. And I wanted to build one more thing. One thing as an industry in general, before, as an industry, we don't share a lot between our competitors, our colleagues and stuff. One group which we are ignoring, which is the startups, the digital companies and those guys, they're actually playing a huge role. Because they go to Alec or to Omnium or any of the other companies, they get these business cases or use cases proven, and they go and take it across everyone. This is a huge thing for the whole industry, because we're not sharing enough. They're actually going and take them around, and they have all the supporting documents. I think this is escalating not only safety, but everything in our industry, and we should give them also the credit for that.
It's interesting. Sorry.
Just one final point on predictive analytics. And for us, this is the future of how we prevent incidents, is that we take a kind of tranche of data from selective projects in different regions and different countries over a 3 to 5 year period, and we look at when incidents, near misses, whatever it is, occurs, and then we build it into the construction program. And we say that 4 weeks out from this high-risk activity or from this critical path milestone starting, we do this. And it can be whatever it needs to be, but the predictive element of analytics is what I'm fundamentally looking at in the future for how we build data centers.
Now that's a very interesting point. So that predictive aspect of analytics, does that help reduce and minimize the risk of human failure and human failure to collaborate with the system? Does it help you identify the hotspots, and then you can focus on what people are actually doing to prevent those hotspots becoming accidents?
Sure. We have a skill shortage globally. Yeah. There's no denying that. So, the human element or the human factor that Ross talks about, if you can take that off the table, again, at the design stage, and you can prefabricate or off-site engineer or whatever you've got to do, you can limit the amount of construction hours that people spend at the work phase, then you're going to reduce it. You're not going to eliminate it, but I think you're going to get to kind of this future state where clients are happy with the reputational risk exposure that we've got a supply chain that supports us and understands, the bigger picture.
Because if we had time, Christina, another topic that I'd love to discuss with you is the fact that safety is both internal and external.
Yes, it is. We actually are at the end of our allocated time. I will thank you so much for this amazing panel, and to close that note is also one of the most important aspects if you want to do preventative analysis and try to understand what's going to happen in the future is we need to have good data, right? Because rubbish in, rubbish out, okay? So, which also, it's the whole point of being here and, Digital Construction Summit and really try to understand how we actually digitalize our industry. Thank you so much to all our panelists.